I wish my students knew that every day I'm grateful to be here because being surrounded by amazing people such as our students and staff is a gift in itself, and I hope they know that they are loved.
I wish my students knew that me telling them the answer doesn't help them learn.
I wish my students knew how many times I skipped lunch to set up a makeup lab that they forgot to come for.
I wish my students knew that colleges don't think straight A's mean as much as you would expect.
I wish my students knew how disappointed I feel seeing the custodians have to pick up piles of trash that students didn't bother to throw away at lunch.
I wish my students knew how many amazing opportunities there are to find your niche here at Centennial.
I wish my students knew that we have difficult things going on at home too.
I wish my students knew that we spend hours away from our families and friends, not to mention our own money, to make sure they succeed, planning, grading, training, buying prizes for the classroom, that the least they can do is stay off their phone and give us some respect for an hour.
I wish my students knew that we love and cherish them even though it may not seem like it.
I wish my students knew that just because we don't like your behavior doesn't mean we don't like you.
I wish my students knew if we are on your case, it means we care.
I wish my students knew that they truly are all kind, smart, and important.
I wish my students knew how much time I put in outside of class to help them be successful. I certainly want to help them be successful.
I wish my students knew that I was a poor kid in school, wore the same pair of pants every day, and that my parents were divorced.
I wish my students knew that it is so much more work to get them to think for themselves and arrive at answers than it is to just tell them the answer, but they are worth it.
I wish my students knew how bad I feel when I get their name wrong.
I wish students knew that school was my safe place and stable part of my life.
I wish my students knew that I never stop worrying about them. Sometimes when I go home at night, I am still thinking of the things they've shared with me, and I feel honored and privileged that they are willing to share their stories with me, even if it sometimes makes me worry.
I wish my students knew when they whisper in the classroom to ask me a question, I have a hard time understanding what they are saying.
I wish my students knew if they speak up, then they won't have to repeat themselves.
I wish my students knew if it's a private question, then ask the teacher to talk outside or at lunch when others are not present in the classroom.
I wish my students knew it's an important life skill to enunciate when communicating.
I wish my students knew how much I want them to succeed, that I will be their biggest cheerleader and I will work hard alongside them because I believe in them.
I wish that my students knew I missed my son.
I wish my students knew that I want to watch a movie today too.
I wish my students knew that we do remember what it is like to be a teenager, and that person still exists. We also know that what happens after high school will shape your lives forever.
I wish my students knew that we care about you and what kind of adult person you are going to become.
I wish my students knew that I suffer from anxiety. I feel sick as I come to school, but I'm still here, still trying to teach them.
I wish my students knew that I am going through a divorce.
I wish my students knew when we arrange events, activities, extra practices, or trips for the various student groups on campus, we generally do so without any extra pay. We are doing it because we want to help the students experience success and take pride in what they do.
I wish my students knew when it takes me a while to get assignments graded and into Synergy, it is because I'm too busy working to give them the best experience I possibly can.
I wish my students knew that I push them for a reason, and that is not picking on them.
I wish my students knew that I'm a student too, and I also have homework to do. So I'm sorry that it takes a long time to get their work back to them.